What's up? It's me again, Wasi. Hey, check this out. Quite a while now, I've been getting a lot of requests for I wouldn't use the word tutorial, but just some kind of videos helping to break some things down that we, people and members of the sound family have to deal with. So hopefully I could try to do something that'll make this this whole sound engineering and being a sound man and just being even just basically having this as a hobby, more interesting and more clear. All right, so real quick, I'm just gonna, I think I'm gonna go through two of the, the actual Ohm's law formulas. I mean, don't get crazy, man. We're not gonna sit here and start doing a whole lot of math. I'm in this industry, but believe it or not, I don't even like math. So it's one of those things you have to do it to get to the end of where you're trying to go. But with that being said, let's let's get started. We'll make this real quick, man, because I'll call this tech tip EP episode 1. Bam. All right, so let's start with the Ohm's law thing. Like I said, I'm not going to make these long and drawn out because I know how math and all that stuff gets kind of boring, man. So it's boring for me too, trust me. So we'll make it quick and try to make it kind of interesting. All right, so Ohm's law, right? You got three things involved. You got you have electricity, but electricity is broken down into voltage and current, and you have power. So when it comes to electricity, it's basically, listen, this is something that, there's other means. It's just like all arithmetic and mathematics. There's different ways to get to the same end. So you could do a different formula or use a different formula or whatever, or depending on where you are, if you're in Europe versus America or whatever, they use different lettering and so on and so forth to actually indicate different things. So what we're going to do is we're going to use what I learned in school, as far as the American standard. So voltage is represented by an E, right? I know it doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't you use a V if you're using, if you're representing voltage? But voltage is represented by an E. So that's voltage. Current is represented by an I. Once again, sounds crazy, don't make no sense. Why wouldn't you use a C? But that's how it's designated, all right? So current is I. All right. And resistance makes sense. Resistance is just an R. All right, so you got voltage, current, and resistance. Those are the major players when it comes to electricity, and things that you got to consider whenever you're kind of designing a circuit or trying to understand how to wire stuff up. We're not going to go into anything crazy like circuit design or nothing like that. We're going to keep this on a high level where we're just talking about maybe if you're trying to hook up a generator or you're hooking up your sound system to a building and you want to make sure you don't burn anything up. You want to know how much current's going through the wire, so on and so forth. So you got the major players, which is voltage, current, and resistance. And that all equates to, at the end of the day, power. All right, so that's how you achieve your power rating based on those individual derivatives, right? So let's start with the easiest ways to remember this stuff. Like when it comes to to Ohm's law, one of them is pi, right? We like pi, PIE. That's one way to remember one of the formulas. So you would basically start with a P, right? I, E. Power, current, voltage. If you know any two of these, you could solve for the last one. For example, all right, let me grab a calculator, because if I do this thing in my head, y'all gonna think I'm making this up. So let me get a calculator so you can see it actually being done, right? So if you got, say you got 220 volts, right? And with that 220 volts, you're being supplied, I don't know if you can see that, right? If you've got 220 volts and you're being supplied, say 50 amps, right? You're basically working with 11,000 watts, all right? Because the voltage, which is E, is 220, the current is 50, so anyone that's familiar with arithmetic or mathematics, this line is a dividing line. This is a dividing line. And anything on these two sides, you multiply, right? And the same thing if you were starting out with the power. So let's do that in reverse. So let's clear this out. And let's say you got 11,000 watts in power. 11, 1, 2, 3, that's 11,000. And you want to know how much voltage or current is actually flowing through your circuit. So let's say you want to find out how much voltage you have, but you know you have 50 amps. You would take that 11,000 watts, which is, the power, divided by 50 amps, because you know you have 50 amps. So you're going to divide that by 50. So you say divided by 50, and that's going to tell you how much voltage you have. You see, it goes right back to 220 volts, right? So that's one formula. Whenever you're doing any kind of hookups electrically, if you're trying to wire up your sound or whatever, you want to try to make sure you hook it up right, or you have, the right amount of wire gauge. I mean, that's a different story to get the right wire gauge based on the amount of load. But this is one formula that you could use, right? So this is one of the Ohm's law formulas. You circle that. You call it pi to kind of help you remember. Power, current, voltage, right? Here's the second one. We're going to still use voltage, but we're going to put voltage on top. So E, I, R, right? Where E is for voltage, I is still for current, and R is for resistance. Let me make that a little better. That don't look like an R. All right, for resistance. So the same thing, man. If you know any two, you could solve for the third, right? So if you have, let's say you're working with a K20, right? And you're putting in, a K20 is the voltage maximum is 225 volts, right? So it's 225 volts going to a speaker, right? So this is just hypothetical, because with audio, the voltage is varying. It doesn't stay stable, it doesn't stay consistent, and it doesn't stay constant. It goes up and down. That's how music is. Music is up and down, up and down, up and down, right? So this is just for mathematics sake, I guess. We're just going to do this just to show you how the numbers work. So you got a K20, you got 225 volts coming out per channel, right? And you're going into 8 ohms. Let's say 4 ohms. You're going to take that 225 volts, and now you're going to divide it into the resistance, which is 4 ohms. So you say divide by 4. And this is going to tell you how much current is supposedly going through the wire. So you have 56.25 amps, which is your current right here. So you got 56.25 amps going through the wire. So now once you know the voltage and the impedance or the resistance, you could then find the current, and vice versa. If you know the current and the resistance, you could get the voltage. You see what I'm saying? So it's all in a circle, and that's how it works. That's a formula, or actually two formulas that you could use to find any of the variables that you don't know, when it comes to electricity, right? I'm not going to say when it comes to audio or anything, because this is applicable to, electricians and a bunch of other different industries. If you want to know something about your wiring or something that you don't know, you can have two of the three and find the third. All right. So that's, I guess that's pretty straightforward stuff. I'm leaving the camera on this stuff, so if anybody want to copy it, or later on when you look at the video, you could kind of see exactly how it's drawn out. And, once again, this is what the indicators are. E is for voltage, I is for current, R is for resistance, and P is for power. The only ones that make sense is power and resistance, because power is P, resistance is R. But current and voltage, they don't follow the first letter of the word. So those are the only two kind of oddballs that you got to remember. So that's just a simple Ohm's law formula. I think later on in these tech tips, I'll go into decibels and stuff like that. I guess I could drop something on you real quick. This is not a hard and fast rule, but just something to keep in mind. I know sometimes you'll see an amplifier and it'll say like 33 decibels, right? And then some amplifiers, it'll say like 1.25 volts. So how do you, get the correlation between the decibels and the voltage? Like I said, this is not a hard and, fast 100% all the time formula, but this gives you a rule of thumb, right? So if you have, let's say you got 33 decibels. You got 33 dB, right? That's what the amplifier switch is saying. If you put it right here, you know, you're going to get 33 dB. But you have a different brand of amplifier, and that amplifier has everything in voltage, like 1.25, 0.775, whatever. So now you're like, damn, how do I get the correlation between the dB and of one amp and the voltage of the other one? A simple way to do it, or a rule of thumb, is just divide the dB by 20, right? So if you got 33 dB, you go 33, you divide that by 20, and that gives you 1.65 volts. You see? So then now it gives you an idea. Okay, well, even though I have different amps, this will help me kind of understand where I need to have my settings so both of them are playing, you know, around the same level of sensitivity. You see what I'm saying? And it's the same way if you have the voltage, you just do it in reverse. So if you have 1.65 volts on one amp, but you need to know what your dB setting should be on the other one, you just put in 1.65 volts and then multiply by 20. So you go times 20 and it gives you 33 dB. You see? So that's just another little nugget, man, a little rule of thumb or whatever when it comes to this I have to say audio game, because most of the people I'm interacting with, y'all either sound people, sound engineers, or in that industry. So this is going to be applicable to audio. All right. So that's kind of one of those things, man. When you have these little tools in your toolbox, it kind of makes life a little bit easier. It kind of helps you to understand. I'm trying to pull back a little bit so you can see the little formulas there. So hopefully that helped y'all out. Like I said, I don't want to keep this long or anything, because I know math is sometimes pretty boring, you know what I mean, and pretty dry. So I ain't really, this ain't exactly something you look forward to doing most of the time. But, you know, hopefully I made it a little bit more interesting just by kind of talking about stuff that has to do with audio. All right, so I'll be doing more of these. You know, if you guys have anything you want to know about, I'll do my best to answer the question and get the details for you and get it in a way that it ain't making you scratch your head and be like, damn, man, I don't understand what the hell he just said. You know what I'm saying? I try to make it real straightforward and simple. So if you guys have any questions or anything you want to know about, just hit me up, and I'll try to put that in the next you know, tech tips that I do. So this is number 1, and hopefully we'll have some more down the road. All right, be blessed, and if anything, we'll link up again. Peace.